"If you build it, he will come" is the actual quote, referring to Shoeless Joe Jackson and the main character's departed father, however, not collectively. The focus at any one time is on one person, the singular, i.e. he. The film is based on the book Shoeless Jackson by Canadian author W.P. Kinsella. The rest of the team comes after the fact. He means Shoeless Joe Jackson as a primary focus of the story, but also as equally important but a parallel figure to the story, as perhaps the primary climax is the main character's departed father. In the film, Shoeless Joe is the only player in the field with Ray, until he asks Ray if the rest of the guys could come as well. After meeting Shoeless Joe, the story diverges a bit between the book and the film, but the idea being about the main character Ray meeting his father's idol Shoeless is true in both formats. Later on in the movie, as he resolved to the strained relationship with his father also ends up appearing. The intention of two important figures ultimately appearing was not collective. It's an artistic viewpoint illustrating inspiring figures in life of passion and love of something, as well as an influential and critical figure in matters of the heart and family. What makes sense in this context is, if you build it, he will come, alluding to one important figure at any one time. This is also according to the original intent of the author, as well as adaptation to film. The author's intent is the most important component, and there is no superseding it, especially with assumption. After Shoeless, one could even argue having built the field was a nostalgic return, a return of Ray's self as auxiliary, while the true peak is his dad appearing, but either way. People who still want to insist otherwise, trying to twist what the original intention was as if they wrote the story, are then suffering some willful ignorance, a prideful denial. "They" is out of context, and the element of suggestibility that wedges the word into the collective memory derives from contributions of James Earl Jones, a prominent actor with a prominent, also familiar resonating voice. He repeats in his soliloquy-like speech the words people, they, they'll, and basically any collective noun to describe more than one person. Another contribution to this assumption is of course the more superior visual sequence in the movie where one observes a team finally showing up, leaving the pluralistic nature in the mind. Eventually a whole team shows up. Jones's voice and his particular dialogue about they, the people, echoes in our heads. The idea they is therefore led visually with the influence of a speech, conjuring up a memory collectively indicating the entire team for congruence and salience. And another factor contributing to the memory of they has to do with congruence of the sport of baseball. When the sport is suggested through the building of a baseball field, they will come naturally comes to mind as far as they meaning people, the spectators of the sport. If the movie never featured a whole team appearing and perhaps only showed one vital character, say just his father or just Joe, this perceptual error most likely wouldn't have occurred. It is a plot nuance that falls victim to oversight and suggestion. In addition, Wayne's World, a popular and therefore influential movie as a variation of the quotes, in its sequel said, "If you book them, they will come." They refer to the bands. Incidentally, you hear the fantastic stories from the Mandela Effect supporter claiming the quote changed in the movie, reflecting a CERN side effect in which a higher dimensional entity is now coming to reign over us. So why hasn't they from the Wayne's World quote changed to he? Are Wayne and Garth just too powerful against the twisting in the so-called fabric of space and time? So anyway, this quote probably enhanced and further reinforced the memory of the word they. This also illustrates the confounding aspect of iconic catchphrases, lines, or quotes. Let me make it clear, too, chronology of the films has nothing to do with this. They are merely a few years apart, and so leaves plenty of time in movie culture history to build momentum and conflation of their content. The force of influence can affect our memory and perception of something that came before it, when obviously both are in the past. This is especially true with such similar lines or dialogue. For those who still argue chronology matters because of memorabilia, well, let's not forget the content creators, official but especially unofficial, are just people. They aren't excused from the flux of influence. Some products with the wrong quotes were circulating as seen here. This is proof this memorabilia was made after Wayne's World, exemplifying a t-shirt maker, yet another human being, possibly confused the two lines or was being cautious of copyright. Meanwhile, there are only 4 official records of registered, unofficial products related to "If you build it, they will come," and of course they have no relation to the movie production company. Let's not forget our very important simultaneous, chronology-upsetting evidence that debunks this so-called effect. As seen here from August of 1991, this is one of copious examples. The journalist correctly states the quote, "If you build it, he will come." And another article from 1989, essentially right after Field of Dreams was released, showing he will come. And here another journalist, some other individual with the wrong assumptions, fueled by some of the factors we went over earlier, after the fact of the 1989 article use of he, uses they mistakenly. While Roger Ebert, in also the same exact year, in his official review, mentions the correct quote. As does movie critic Karen James in 1989. These are just scratching the surface. There are plenty more of this convention. There is no chronology and just a big mess of the correct quote mixed in with inadvertent use of the assumed, influenced wrong quotes. In fact, apart from the mix-up, what's notable is most official movie reviewers use the correct quote, while many articles with casual reference contain the wrong quote. Also, most of the incorrect quotes are in articles several years after the movie, including after Wayne's World. So, the mix-up aspect shows human error, and the predominant pattern of correct versus incorrect quote shows the advent of influence, suggestibility, and in turn mismemory. Speaking of oversight, it's funny that on the author's official site, I noticed there's a mistake with the quote but only on one page. It serves yet another example of oh so important debunking simultaneous evidence, on the same medium to boot. On the actual page of the story of Shoeless Joe, it correctly reads he. On the front homepage, it incorrectly reads they. But was it an oversight in this case? It seems there's more to the story because going to the archives for his website, you will notice something peculiar. that same page, the index or front page, that reads incorrectly currently as they, had the correct quote with he in the first debut of the site in 2013. Before that, there was one rendition of the author's site that did not contain these quotes at all, and apparently was unofficial, but with the same exact URL. Then, immediately following that 2013 debut, in December of 2013, a change to the incorrect they was made. Often, as we will see in the case of Chick-fil-A, businesses, including authors who sell books, want to ensure original ownership of a product, idea, or even a famous quote. Short of legally securing an idea, URL redirects are used to send traffic to a true URL, or the varied idea is included on the site as a keyword to show original source. Being that they will come has become very popular, it made sense to include it somewhere on his site. If this business maneuver isn't what explains it, then it could very well be another oversight, because the author doesn't actually run his site nor populate it with information. An outside service such as an agency by Carolyn Swayze, Signs Kinsella, signs authors on as clients, designs and populates the site, while also using specific bits or passages copied and pasted directly from the author. Either of these explanations clarify why one finds the correct quote on his site in the summary section of the book and the wrong quote on the front page simultaneously as simultaneous evidence, because humans changed something, made errors or business decisions. The quote itself, however, never changed. Suggestibility by the assumptions of culture, other individuals, oversights, or possible business decisions inspired the belief be changed.